What's up, guys? Justin here with my starts and sits for Fantasy Football Week 5. Over 98% of you guys that watch are not subscribed, so please quickly hit that subscribe button. Before going into the positions, I want to talk about one specific game that I'm targeting. This is the Jets versus the Cowboys. A point total of 47.5, and it's on the higher end of the week. I think all of the big hitters in this game should be startable. Dak Prescott, Javonte Williams, George Pickens, and Jake Ferguson for the Cowboys. And Justin Fields, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, and maybe even Mason Taylor if you're desperate for the Jets. Also, go ahead and fire all of your Lions up against the Bengals defense. Jared Goff, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, and Sam Laporta, they're all startable. So let's jump right in with the quarterbacks that I'm looking to start in Week 5. I think Drake May has been on this start list every single week, and he's back here again, taking on a Bills defense that I don't think is all that great. Keep it rolling with the number 4 quarterback in fantasy. Daniel Jones has a solid matchup against the Las Vegas Raiders defense this week. Indiana Jones is the number 7 QB in fantasy, and I expect him to continue his success this week. If you just grabbed Jackson Dart, I would suggest starting him immediately. If his rushing work continues, he can be a top 12 quarterback rest of season, and he takes on a bad Saints defense in Week 5. I told you to pick up CJ Stroud ahead of this week, and he's still only owned in 57% of sleeper leagues. He's a great streaming option as he takes on the Ravens defense, who has already been bad, but now they're even more injured than they were before. Sam Darnold is another streaming option. He's scored 15.8 or more points in the last 3 games, and the Buccaneers have a very good run-stopping defense, so I look for the Seahawks to pass the ball. Tua takes on the Panthers, meaning Bryce Young takes on the Dolphins. Both of these defenses are not very good, so if you are desperate, these are deeper options. As for the quarterbacks I'm sitting, these are mostly just the backups. I'm not starting Cooper Rush against a good Texans defense, and I do not want to start either quarterback in London, those being Carson Wentz and Dylan Gabriel. 2 very good defenses in a foreign game, and a rookie quarterback starting against a Brian Flores defense is not something I want to take part in. Moving on to the running backs I want in my lineups, I'm starting off with Cam Scatterbo against the Saints. Just like Dart, they take on a bad Saints defense, and Scatterbo is getting 95% of the groundwork. Chuba Hubbard is basically an auto start each week, but if he misses, I wouldn't mind starting Rico Dowdle against a bad Dolphins defense if you need the help. Quinshon Judkins should basically be in lineups moving forward. This is less so about the matchup because he looks to be the workhorse for the Browns, and with a rookie quarterback making his first start, they may even run more. Travis Etienne is getting another start from me. The Chiefs' defense looked really good in Week 1, but hasn't been the same since, and Etienne has looked good all season. You may have just picked up Woody Marks, and I would fire him up against a real bad Ravens defense. Again, we talked about this, but they are so bad and banged up. Alvin Kamara, and if you're really desperate, Kendre Miller are possible options as they take on the worst rushing defense in the entire NFL in the New York Giants. I do want to bring up the Cardinals running backs, though it's a tough situation. We don't know who's going to get the work, but the Titans defense is so bad, and this should be more of a run-heavy game script, so these guys are potential options. I may need to start Michael Carter in a league where I am plagued with injuries and buys. Moving over to the running backs that I'm sitting, I want to first temper my expectation on a couple teams' backfield. The first is the Seahawks. The Buccaneers have one of the best run defenses in the NFL, and it's a split backfield. If you have Walker, you might not have better options, but that's something to keep an eye on. I also want to temper expectations on the Buccaneers' backfield. The Seahawks also have one of the best run-stopping defenses in the league. Rachaad White could provide a PPR floor if Bucky doesn't go, but just be wary of this matchup too. It's tough to sit a running back that gets all of the rushing work, but Jordan Mason takes on a really tough Browns defense. He gets very little receiving work, so I'd be looking for a better option if you have one. I've said this before, but I want to sit the Chiefs running backs, especially against the Jaguars. Again, this has been a split backfield all year, and they take on a good Jaguars defense. Heading over to the receivers that I'm looking to start, I want to get Ted McMillan in my lineup as the Dolphins' pass defense is so bad. Bryce Young isn't all that great, to be honest, but Ted McMillan should be able to get the work. With Malik Neighbors now done for the year, Wan'Dale Robinson could provide a safe floor for teams moving forward. They take on the bad Saints, and I don't know how much Jackson Dart's going to throw, but Wan'Dale Robinson is a PPR merchant, and he could score you like 12 points. Michael Pittman has been very good so far this year, and he's developing a connection with Daniel Jones. Like I said to start Daniel Jones earlier, I'm starting Michael Pittman now as they take on a bad Raiders defense. Marvin Harrison has been a headache for fantasy managers, though he did end up pulling out a pretty good performance last week. The Titans are a cure-all, so I would fire up Marvin Harrison this week and hope that this sets him on a good pace for the rest of the season. I also want to start Chris Olave against the Giants. The Giants' pass defense is amongst the worst in the league, and similar to Bijan Robinson, Chris Olave is a PPR merchant. So he's a very safe play with a high floor, and I would fire him up. Heading over to the wide receivers I'm looking to sit, I want to first talk about the Eagles' wide receivers. I don't know if I'd full-on sit them, but you should definitely temper your expectations in a defensive matchup against the Broncos. If Dallas Goedert were to miss, though, this condenses the target share and puts A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith in a better situation. I want to sit the Browns wide receivers as well against the Minnesota Vikings. Like I mentioned, I don't love the idea of a rookie quarterback going up against the Brian Flores-led defense. Staying in the same game, I'm going to send Jordan Addison to my bench. The Browns defense is one of the best in the league, and the Vikings are dealing with a ton of injuries on their offensive line. I think this is a situation where the Browns front seven can really wreck this game. The Vikings have already been overseas, and the Browns are coming now, so that is something to consider, but I would still be weary of this matchup for Jordan Addison. Now, looking at the tight ends I'm starting this week, Hunter Henry was on this list last week, and he only caught 2 passes, but one was a touchdown, earning him the tight end 10 spot on the week. The Bills have been stingy to tight ends this season, but I think there should be enough passing volume and points in this game to be able to fire up Henry. Dalton Schultz is a deeper option, but he's had 5 catches in back-to-back games, and as I mentioned earlier, the Ravens' defense is horrible. Jatavion Sanders missed last week, and Tommy Tremble stepped in with 5 catches and a touchdown in his absence. Tommy Tremble could be another deep streaming option against a bad Dolphins defense. On the flip side of this game, I think Darren Waller is startable too. He showed out in his first game of the season, and Tyreek is out for the year, and I think the Panthers defense is a good matchup for him. Of the tight ends that I'm sitting, I think Mark Andrews has been a sit for at least 60% of this season. With Cooper Rush in at quarterback, I do not expect a big day out of the offense, especially against a solid Texans defense. If Dallas Goedert is active, I'm probably not starting him either. He has had 30 fantasy points over the last 2 weeks, but 18 of those are coming directly off touchdowns. I don't think this is sustainable, and he takes on a tough Broncos defense. I think this game could look like the Eagles' Week 2 matchup against the Chiefs with not a ton of passing yards. On the opposite side of this game, Evan Ingram has been a sit much of the season too. He draws a tough matchup against the Eagles' defense and is yet to play more than 43% of snaps this season. He might still be injured, but I would rather wait and see than put him into my lineups now. Travis Kelce is also someone that could be a sit if you have a better option. The Jaguars have had a pretty good defense so far this season, and he's just not anywhere near as good as he once was. I want to quickly mention a few of the defenses that I like. Starting off with the Cardinals versus the Titans, you basically want to start anybody against the Titans. The Lions versus the Bengals, both of the Vikings and the Browns, the Colts versus the Raiders, and the Texans versus the Ravens. Let me know any questions you have in the comments, and drop a like and hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching.